unity and empathy has no place among the human race in this transition. When we live in love and harmony and show respect with unity, only love can set us free to fight injustice wherever it be. Just said the hungry must be fed, but man can't live by only bread. We have the future in our hands. Let's take the trot to the promised land. Jamaica, Ethiopia, America, calling, Nyankopong, calling, Nyankopong, calling, Nyankopong, calling. From the middle of the graveyard to the center of the sea, our ancestors, are you and me, we are the great ones. From the beginning of time, we have the heart, the soul, the body, and the mind. Calling, Nyankopong, calling, Nyankopong, calling, Nyankopong, calling. United we stand, divided we fall. All for one and one for all. Some never know themselves until them back against the wall. Jamaica, Haiti, Nyankopong a call, calling, Nyankopong, calling, Nyankopong, calling, Nyankopong, calling. Okay, I think we have called a lot of time who is not here today. They may be doing other things. Brother Earl Jackson is here. Brother Kareem is here. And Madam Secretary is here, the vital part of what we need to look about. Grand Rising, everyone. Grand Rising. Nice to see you. Lovely to see you, Nana Chanel. Boy, your scarce like white rice. May I tell you. I'm not drop the word, but your scarce like white rice. I love having you around, but I know summertime is here and you have to multitask. So I appreciate your whole thinking.
I'm moving, so I've been doing a lot of packing and planning.
Oh, Lord. Never know that, Madam
This
Secretary.
morning I got up at 6. This morning I went grocery shopping at 30.
At what time?
6:30.
Whoa! Them time there, Brother Earl go to draw a snore. You know, I mean, not to mention Kareem last to the world. Yeah. Anyway. Let me not hold you much longer. We're taping, so Brother Earl is here. Brother Earl and Brother Kareem, please use up the time to ask any question. When it comes down to Sister Chanel, we don't know enough of the things and what we are studying. She's on top of it. But if we don't seek her assistance, sometimes we may not get it. So I'll ask any question I want after the presentation. But you have something up. You can carry on, Madam Secretary. I turn it over to you.
All righty. So today we're revisiting the estate. Table of contents. We're going to go over a few definitions: estate name, general information about the estate, creation, executor, office, estate as the highest court, fiduciary duties of all officials to the estate, executor's office, occupancy, estate property, the Social Security trust, And we're going to go over a few other things, the post office, and changing your mail, etc. So it looks like a lot, so let's get into it. Can everybody see my screen? Can you guys see my screen?
I see it, but it's not coming up.
Uh-oh. Okay, so I posted the link inside of the classroom on WhatsApp. So if you can pull it up on your own devices and get to page
Oh,
5 for the definition.
Okay.
all right, you got it.
Okay.
Yes, there you go.
Alrighty, so I'm on now.
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. So the first word is adjourned, to put off, defer, or postponed. I'm going to go through these really quickly. If we have any questions, you can ask at the end of the definitions. Arrogated, claimed by undue pretenses to claim for oneself. Chattel, an article of personal property, a slave. Constructive trust, a trust raised by construction of law, which permits the other parties who have equity in the property to enjoy the benefits of the estate should the person appointed violate the rights of the estate. Decedent, a deceased person. Estate, this includes property, real and personal, describes the corpus and everything concerning fortune and riches. Corpus, a collection of written text or spoken material on a particular subject. Anatomy, the main body or mass of a structure. Possession, page 6, the state of having, owning, or controlling something, visible power or of ownership or occupancy. Especial, important with the same sense of special. Executor, he to whom another commits by will the execution of his last will and testament. General executor, one who is appointed to administer the whole estate without any limits. Executor de son tort, a person who assumes to act as executor of an estate without any lawful warrant or authority, but who, by his intermeddling, makes himself liable as an executor to a certain extent. Foreign, sense of not in one's own land, not my estate. Infant, law, a person who has not attained legal majority. Majority, by law, a person who is entitled to the management of his own affairs. Adolescence follows puberty and precedes the age of majority. Minority, the state or condition of a minor, infancy. Minor, a person who is under the age of legal competence. Occupant, one who has the actual use, possession, or control of a thing. Occupancy, being an occupant. Office, a room or other area where administrative work is done. A position of power one holds with specific duties attached to it herein. The office of executor, for example. Province, a range of one's proper duties and functions, an administrative division that signifies power and authority. Register or registrar, authorized by law to keep record. Probate, the act or process of proving a will. Warrant, an an officer that is commissioned to seize an enemy, to secure, exempt, to privilege. Will, a legal declaration of how a person wishes his or her possessions will be disposed of after death. Wish, an expression of desire. Testament, a statement of belief. Covenant, a binding agreement. Dispensation, a release of an agreement or a rule. Codicil, a supplement that explains, modifies, or revokes a will. Holographic will, one that is entirely written, dated, and signed by the hand of the testator himself. Any questions? No questions. Moving on. Your estate name is the name that is written on your birth certificate. It should only be written in all caps. If there's a part of your name that is not listed on the birth certificate, do not include it as the estate name. Estate name should be written, for example, Jane Doe Smith in capital letters, comma, estate. Page 10, general information about the estate. A, creation of the estate. An office for an estate was created when you were born because your body is an estate by way of your name, written in all caps on the birth certificate. The all cap name is an incorporated association because you are the descendant. Your body is private property. When a birth occurs, the mother is coerced into signing the birth certificate as a trustee. The birth certificate refers to her as the informant. You are the grantor. If you or some family member does not have the role of executor, agents of the government will. A trust can only be there as already an estate in existence. Never use a Social Security number card as identification. Page 11, the location of the probate will is the file number on the certificate of live birth. The estate resides at the file number, but the estate is you, and what is probated is the will of the testator, the deceased. The will is your desires. The executor, your mind, acts on behalf of the will, the heart's desires, for the descendant's estate, the body. The probated will is restricted to the file number. It cannot move anywhere else. However, your body can move about. Therefore, the certificate of live birth cannot be the estate. The estate is not probated. Wills are. Our body are composed of mostly water and the remainder from the earth. We are a walking, talking, independent island, country, nation, or independent state, estate, status. We are foreign to each other. If the name on the birth certificate is in all caps, has a bond number on it, or if the country you're born belongs to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, there's a good chance there's a probated will on record. Remember, you cannot have a trust Social Security number without an estate. The birth certificate is proof of a probated will. Without a birth certificate, it has not gone through probate, but not all wills will go through probate. The certificate of birth number is not on the executor's letters as long as you are not in a position in which you can just hand them the certificate of birth to prove a point. I see no reason that would prevent anyone using these executor letters. You should never refer to the estate as your estate or my estate. When you function in the executor office of the estate, you deny everyone else from exercising a presumption of authority to administrate the estate. The all caps names is foreign to the U.S. and the states. Statutory admission from the estate and executor office are immune from the jurisdiction of the United States, and the states is found in the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act because the estate is a creditor. Why do they say the estate is a creditor? The estate is us. Why do they say we're a creditor? Because the country is built on credit backed by the people who are the estates. In Title 28, 1602 to 1611, the foreign state means foreign estate. Just substitute the words estate for the word state when reading the act. The estate and the occupant of the executor office are foreign states as described in the act. FSIA applies because the estate is foreign to the powers that be. As an occupant, you can be the executor, executrix, as well as trustee, truster, guardian, receiver, or custodian. Each one has specific duties. Know what hat you are wearing. Probate law is the highest form of law. The estate body is the nature of a trust, but is not a trust. The estate is guided by trust law and is affected by probate law. Holy Scriptures is why we use the definitions and functions. They're taking Holy Scriptures and applying them without using them, constructing a mirror image of the principles used. This mirror image, of course, without God. However, you are not the mirror image. You are made in the image of God and therefore foreign to man's government. Executor office. Once you occupy the executor office, you cannot be considered or called a chattel. The Sesquive Act of 1666 made us all deceased at birth to protect our property and allowed others to care for the estate property without being accused of theft. And that's where the birth certificate comes in. You have your mother as the informant sign you over to the government. Thus, if you abandon the estate, cast beyond the sea, lost at sea, dead to the world, and if one day the lost were ever to return from sea or travels and announce that he or she's alive or were heirs to the estate, he or she could take the lawful place as executors of the estates. And that's why we do an affidavit of age of majority. So we're making ourselves not children anymore, not minors anymore, but we are the majors, the executors of the estates. One cannot operate as the holder of the office and then attempt to operate in a different capacity as well. That is, as a trustee or beneficiary in a trust or even in a different capacity, for example, as a damaged party or citizen in order to be able to bring a legal action into something that would be termed as a lower court with less power than the executor office. If a trust can exist, only if an estate exists, then a trust can exist and a trustee can be appointed. Excuse me. You want to be clear and be only one thing, not a multiple of concepts all trying to resolve the same solution at that time. When the executive office is occupied, all lower offices or false offices are naturally bound to perform the highest level of service possible, so the executive is protected and the office is defended. When you function in the executive office of the estate, you deny everyone from exercising a presumption of authority to administer the estate. Once the executor steps up and occupies the executive office, then there is no longer any illegal or inferior trustee position unless appointed by the executor. They are canceled. The executor overrides them all. Anyone still standing would be a trespass. Executor does untoward activities. The executor office would or should have no reason to consider a legal action from a lower system, as the office has the authority to submit either an order or request to lower office enforcement holders to perform corrective actions. The executive office is the court. Operating in the office entails that all acts or actions of the executor are done to expand or increase the estate and better our fellow man and woman, as commanded by the first executor of the first estate, Yeshua Jesus. A trust is a contract. The executor is the highest level in trust law. The executor office is the highest authority. Executor has immunity and only has liability if he or she commits a fraud in the administration of the estate. Showing your footprints is a liability. It shows you are the actual grantor. You will never ask, they will never ask for your footprints. Do you know what footprints they're talking about? They're talking about when you were born and they stamped your foot on a piece of paper. The right of the executor to be secure in their body, houses, papers, and effects, property, against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation from another executor, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the body or things to be seized. Executive office, the root, means to carry out legal order. Execution, executor, executive, the executioner, all have the basics to carry out legal orders. As executor, you give the legal orders to be carried out. However, as in all things, it takes time to learn how to crawl and walk in your new power and ability. Do not do more than you can handle at any time. Start slow and easy and learn. It is understood that we have the authority to administer the whole estate, so there's no need to use the title General Executor in deference to executor. By using the word executor or estate, you become the creditor. Creditors have immunity from the debtor. Making public notice of taking occupancy of the executive office is not necessary. The king does not need to notice the subjects of his function. All descendants are sovereign and have sovereign immunity. It is your birthright inheritance. When you reach the age of majority, become competent or return to the executor's office. The goal desired by becoming the occupant of the executor office for the estate is to come out of the world system and be separated therefrom. We do not require a verbal statement, as your actions speak louder than words ever could. The state cannot interfere in a God-given right without violating the First, Ninth, and 10th Amendments, 12, as well as state constitutions. God said, "Let my people go," and he meant it. Uh, what just happened here? I think I'm at page 18. I just lost my screen. Give me a moment.
Madam Secretary, this is pertaining to our setting up our estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because from we did the DOT run through the last time, I don't think we had followed through, and I wanted us to do a bit of up it up when it comes on to knowing more about what we have done.
So we want to set up a trust.
You remember the DOT allowed us to set up a lot of us set up
Yes,
LLC,
we did the
and I keep
EIN. We did
getting
the EIN for a trust.
yes.
We want
So
to set up a trust.
yes, I think we should teach our brothers and sisters how to set up their trust so they could put their personal underneath it.
Okay. That's
That's not now still, but I'm saying seeing that we were touching on
that's a
this.
different that's a different
Okay.
slide. This is just the basics.
Okay.
This is just basically that, and I have other examples of the trust that we could use.
No problem. No problem. I just want us to stay abreast when it comes on to that.
I can put examples of the trust in the chat, the classroom chat,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a matter um of and taking names out and putting your own names in.
Good.
And there's also a book that I recommend everyone to read.
Mm-hmm.
It's on setting up a trust.
Give it to us.
Mm,
We'll do the necessary studying of it.
okay.
Two became close friends. If you get 1 million emails a day, here's how you can use Zapier to
So
automatically
do we want to continue with this book?
them using
Yes.
new email you get.
It's just that I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse. I want us to have the horse in front of the cart. And what we're learning about trust, it also ties into estates, because most of the asset that we own via our estate, it needs to be under the trust, right? You would agree?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm saying that. Oh, I figure more or less we teach from front and then go to the rest of it.
Boy, tell him, go to the police station.
Yeah, but we good.
So loud.
You can continue.
Okay, so there's a book called WEISS Express Trustee Handbook. I suggest that book if you don't already have it. Let me see if I can put it in the chat real quick. Wise Express Trustee Handbook. And I bought a book a couple weeks ago that tells you how to set up a trust and give you an example. But let me continue with this. Alrighty, so I'm at page 18. As the highest court. The man with the title register is the probate court, not the judge in the probate court. The probate court just approves or recognizes what the executor has already done. The executor office is higher than the probate court. The courts do not have jurisdiction in persona or subject matter over the estate. Executor office is the highest office in trust law and the highest authority. You are mind, body, heart, and spirit. You are hereby complete one. When speaking on behalf of the estate, uses names or titles when you can. Make a distinction of who did what. Fiduciary duty of all officials to the estate. The fiduciary duty of all officials is to serve and protect the estate and the occupant of the executive office. A fiduciary responsibility is the highest responsibility in law. They signed the form or given an oath of office to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, blah, blah, blah. Furthermore, I'm not participating in any strike against the government of the United States or any agency thereof, and I will not so participate an employee of the government of the United States or any agency thereof. Their oath of office is a confession of judgment. No state legislator or executive or judicial officer can war against the Constitution without violating his undertaking. Until you become of age, your father has the authority to occupy the executor office of the estate bearing your all caps name, provided he is aware. Upon attaining the age of majority,
Jerk chicken that in a classroom, a jerk chicken in a classroom that teacher. You almost say some student just a rub it in through then they are Jamaica, you know, but nah, so nothing still, you know.
who that?
Crystal teacher,
Tell me,
Crystal in
tell
a
me, tell me
classroom
that's
I
not
eat
Chief Crystal. I eat
yeah,
jerk
eat
chicken.
jerk chicken, you know. I tell you the audacity, the teacher, I tell you, boy. Oh,
She got
God.
some nerve.
When I tell you, boy, that you
So
to
what
eat everything.
have the mango in front of now?
What's the
Mango
teacher?
soon,
No, teacher,
that's the
better.
mango soon drop out of your hand.
Yeah, she rub it in, you know.
I hope your mango drop out of your hand.
Lord of mercy. I can't deal with this. Lord. Yeah, Lord God.
Oh, God.
Okay, sorry
Upon
about that.
attaining the age of majority, you may step into and assume your proper capacity in the executor office of the all caps name estate. As the grantor of the estate, you're the only one who can appoint the executor or assign executor duties to trustees, but cannot authorize fictional entities to administrate the estate. I put that book in there in the chat for the trust. Did everybody see it, right?
Which one I book teach?
Wise
This one that you
Estate
teaching?
Trustee.
Yes, I
Wise
saw it.
Express.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay. So
I'm saving all of these things where you do teach. I save them. I save everything that you sent to me.
okay.
Mhm.
If a man marries a foreign-born woman with no birth certificate and the wife gets a social security number, now there's a trust that is the property of the husband's estate, and he must protect that trust as property of the husband's estate. The body is the estate. The two estates become one, as married couple do under common law. What was the property of the wife is now the property of the husband. Anything else would be a separation of which no man or woman may do. What God has joined together, let no man put asunder. Regardless of foreign born or not, if our goal is to be out of the world system, it makes everyone foreign. The goal is to be the occupant of the office of the executor. The occupant can be anyone. However, when the executor shows, they all lose their ability to perform without express permission by the executor. Estate property. Any trust you create in the world system are property of the estate. Executor office cannot operate trusts. The best you can do is take control of the property. If your name is not on a deed, you have no standing to operate as the executor. It would be executor de son tort. The estate can claim property as property of the estate, and there will likely be no objections. Operating a trust would make you a trustee. Know that no other trustee, public servant has authority to operate your trust. The trustee would be the occupant of the office of the executor. Social Security Trust. The Social Security card is proof of a trust, not an estate. The government created the Social Security system, so they had a trust where we can be regarded as trustees. The Social Security account is connected to everything you do in the world, and all paperwork is directed to the Social Security number trust. The trustee has the liability. Trustees have liability, whereas executors do not. They cannot come after the estate or the executor office. You are the occupant of the executor office. Never acknowledge you are the name on the Social Security card. That is your title, occupant of the executor office. You cannot cancel out the Social Security trust account. It is estate property. If it comes back to the estate, it will not be earning anything anymore. You're trading off it and will be trading off it after you die. Doing business. If you are a business owner or if you're starting a business which requires a license, do not set up a trust or a legal entity in which to do business, but rather do everything in your own name. Historical background of the post office. A post is another name for a courier. The posts were initially set up for government purposes between different rulers in their own countries as well as neighboring countries. The United States Post Office was created almost 2 years before the Declaration of Independence was issued, and it was the bank. It issued postal money orders. The routing number on these postage money orders do not take it back to the Federal Reserve. It takes it back to the post office. I just wanted to say something before we continue on. So I got a little information on about paying bills with a postal money order. And it's basically you buy a postal service money order, which is backed by gold and silver, but you don't pay the entire bill. Now, if your debt collector accepts that money and come back to you for more, then they are in the wrong because they accepted your full payment, which is backed by gold, the real money. So it's a little video, but I'd have to share it with you guys later on. So the United States Post Office was the first bank. It is also the largest part in the bank, largest bank in the world, and yet it is not in the world. Throughout history, there's always been the General Post Office and the Government Post Office, and they are different. Now called the current system, that is the United States Postal Service. USPS is commercial. Even though USPS is commercial, it retains the non-commercial aspect. United States Post Office, based on the original General Post Office, GPO. The GPO is not mentioned in a domestic mail manual because domestic mail manual denotes commerce. Everyone is presumed to be in commerce. Nevertheless, it is only a presumption, and that is where you come in to rebut that presumption. You rebut it by not engaging in commercial activity and not receiving your mail at an address, etc. The General Post Office was an act. It was created on February 20, 1792, which was for governmental business. The act made detailed provision for the post office and also established a separate General Post Office for governmental purposes. March 3rd, 1825, the Post Office Department was created, an act to reduce into one the several acts establishing and regulating the Post Office Department. It is thereby enacted and there be established the seat of the government of the United States, a General Post Office under the direction of a Postmaster General. In 1963, shortly after Kennedy was assassinated, the ZIP Federal Zone Improvement Plan Code was established. In 1970, Public Law 91-375 recognized the Post Office Department Title 39, Section 101, and calls it the United States Postal Service. The CEO of the Postal Service is the Postmaster General. Upon walking into a post office, you better know who you are, what you're standing in there as, and how you are operating, because once you pass that threshold, it is deemed that you are nothing but a subject class slave, U.S. citizen utilizing the USPS for the commercial activity in your life. Remember the goal desired by becoming the occupant of the executive office for the estate. Your body is to come out of the world system and be separate thereof. Do use zip codes. The zip code should only be used when involved in commerce or involved in the government. In addition, normal postage is for or about commerce. You can use either your own street address or the street address of the post office in executive style location. Example, 131 South Center Street, Collierville, Tennessee, which is the post office address. And when you rent the box, then it becomes 131 Center Street, number 3904, Collierville, Tennessee, 38027. I'm going to skip over the rest of the post office thing because time is running short. claiming accounts. Anything that has a number on it is an account. It is important that you register your items to the estate. You're changing the ownership of these items, whatever they are. You are taking it out of the public and putting it in the private. So basically, if you have a library card, that's an account. There's a number on it, that's an account. You want to register it under it. Own nothing and control everything is the way of the corporation. The custodian, the owner, is the occupant of that office, and that is breathing being, a man or woman. And you are the only one that can possess anything. All these fictions cannot. We can own and possess property. However, we're just the stewards, custodians, for all belongs to God. Whatever claim you're making, it goes to their highest legal office, such as water being turned off, claim the account, and then send that information to the legal department of the utility company and order them to turn the service back on. Send a check, registered mail receipt. PS Form 3806 is the only form that the United States Post Office, and that is who produces and who deals with it. This is the only one that is NCR carbon copy as far as regular mail, certified and registered. On the certified mail, they put these receipts in their machine. It is a light green color, official use. The city and zip code of the destinations are printed in there by the machine. You cannot put anything on the certified one. They do not use the registered mail because it says official use, because they are USPS and they cannot use it, which is there for the post office to use. And you are the postmaster at General Post. If anyone asks you questions about the estate, say, I cannot answer that, and it is private estate. I am duly bound to non-disclosure concerning the business of the estate. If someone demands a death certificate for the estate, produce the birth certificate with the registrar's seal and signature on it. If they say it is a birth certificate, ask if they can read the seal and signature on the document. The registrar is a probate court. The seal on the birth certificate is factual evidence that the estate has been probated. If judge or someone says you did not go to court to become the executor, show them the birth certificate, and point out the seal of the registrar. That proves you did go to court. Abandoned paperwork. Abandoned paperwork is when a party sends paperwork addressed to the all caps name. They're addressing the estate and assumed it is abandoned. When you return their paperwork to them, you're returning the evidence of their attempt to defraud the alleged abandoned estate, executor, the suntort, or as an unnamed trustee, etc. They assume the estate is abandoned until you step up into the executor office and notify them with the executor letter. Everything is unauthorized unless the executor office has delegated in writing such authority. The trustee has liability. If you got the name on the paperwork as the estate, they have no authority. They cannot come after the executor. If someone files document in the county recorder's office that trespasses on the estate but did not send you a copy, take a lien or list pendants, get a certified copy and return it to the executor office. And the county recorder's office is very important. When we do our fee schedules and our affidavits, we need to file these with the county recorder's office. The executor letter must be on legal size. 8.5 by 14 paper, and it must be printed on that size paper, no exceptions, and best if printed on a color laser printer. We use blue ink because it is royal law. Black ink is used in commerce and is dead without life. The executor type the executive letter using Times New Roman 12-point font. Fast is not the way to proceed, not the way to succeed with this. Accuracy in doing the letter and sending of it is the way to success. There is no need to include a zip code because the only place for zip code is on the letter to them if it involves government or commerce. Government controls commerce. So the executive letter correspondence. When you receive a written correspondence addressed to the all caps name, it is addressing the estate. Anytime anyone is addressing the estate and attempting to take anything from the estate, the issue is trespass. The only response sorry about that. I live in the city and the train is passing by. Anytime anyone is addressing the estate and attempting to take anything from the estate, the issue is trespass. The only response to written correspondence, abandoned paperwork addressed to the estate is to reply with the executor letter to which attach, do not staple, but paper clip to every document that has been abandoned on the issue. Executor letter puts them on notice that you are aware of the estate and now occupy the executor office. The recipient of the executor letter has 3 days to act on it after receipt. The executor letter is private, not public nor commercial. It is not recorded anywhere. Executors do not have liability as they are only the signatories for the estate. Estates are in law. Everything else is fiction. When replying, make no demands except for their authority to administrate the estate. Their authority comes from a POA, power of attorney. Their authority comes from a POA, warrant of some other instrument from the executor of the estate to them. If you did not give it, they cannot have it. Every time a new issue comes up with where the estate is being attacked, you must send a new executive letter to those threatening the estate. Use a separate executive letter to address each case or issue. Record at the county recorder's office, get a certified copy, and file it into the case. When you send copies of the executive letter, each one can be mailed certified by putting another certified mail sticker below the original one on the copy of the original executive letter. Copy to Office of Governor, Office of Attorney, or Office of Attorney General. On the first line
should we get
of
these
each
letters
copy,
notarized? Should we get these letters notarized
should you
before
get
we
them
send them? These documents?
No, you only want to notarize affidavits.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. On the first line of each copy, text exactly as presented. Copy to Office of Governor and copy to Office of Attorney General, respectively. If copies of these letters are to be sent to other parties, they can be listed in like manner in this area. On the second line, copy to where it says State of corporate birth state. Replace the words corporate birth states and remove the brackets. Example, the state of Colorado. On the third line of each copy where it says governor's name, governor or attorney general's name, replace them with the name of the person who occupies the office of the governor and attorney general's office. Example, John Wilkes Booth, governor, and Patty Cakes Booth, attorney general. Remove the brackets. If you were born in Washington, D.C., your birth state is Maryland. Actually, to answer your question, here's the answer for your question. It does say to notarize. Who was that asked the question a while ago about notarizers?
Angela Rose.
Angela Rose, how are you? So it
I'm
does say
great.
here, when the executive letter is completed, signed, and notarized, scan and print color copies to send to the following parties by registered regular U.S. mail. So send to the governor because he is over the insurance commissioner. You send to the attorney general in your state because he's ultimately over all the corporations, trusts, and estates of the state. The state attorney general is a chief counsel for the state and the state agencies. And the same when we're sending out our notifications, we want to send them to the state attorney as well as the governor. Send a copy of the letter also to the Secretary of State in your state so that if the entity who sent you the abandoned paperwork is not registered to do business in your state, that fact may come to the attention of the Attorney General. Remember, the idea is that the more officials to whom you provide the executor letter, the greater the chance that someone will perform their duties as required. The abandoned documents need only be sent with the original of the executor letter. However, for extra effect, you may send a copy of the abandoned documents with the other copies of the executor letter being sent to the governor, etc. For all federal court issues, address the letter to the Administrative Office of the United States Court. That is page 46, addressing the executive letter in response to mail addressed to the estate. The court administrator for the federal court system notifies the Supreme Court justices and the appellate court judges, and all their bonds are put in jeopardy. They are the ones who swear in all these lawyers and issue them bar cards administratively. The executive letter should be addressed to the attorney who sent you the letter, example, the chief counsel of the company or the CFO, collection agency documents, sent to the Secretary of State for the state, never to the collection agency. We have an address here, Office of Chief Counsel, address executive letter to Office of Chief Counsel William J. Wilkins, Internal Revenue Service Headquarters, Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C., in with parentheses or brackets around the zip code. IRS is not happy with these executive letters. If you do not receive a positive response within 14 days of delivery, file a complaint with the governor and attorney general. Feds cannot operate on corporate state without consent of the governor. IRS cannot operate on a corporate county without the consent of the sheriff. Governor and sheriff's bonds are at risk. Addressing the executive letter in response to a writ or warrant from the office of the director or office of revenue, ODOR. Trying to confiscate your bank account. There is an address provided here to respond to that. And then we have examples of successes using the executive letter, where people have used it in child custody cases, been released from jail, stop foreclosure, mortgage foreclosures. Verbally presenting and enforcing your position as executor while in court. Once you send the executive letter, the issue is not how the executor enforces his position. The issue is that they now cannot enforce their position. Never tell your attorney that you're presenting the executive letter. Drop the bomb in court and they will back off. Do not go into their courtrooms to deal with the fraud. Deal with it in the paperwork. Example, that is the executor letter. I am here in my proper capacity as the occupant of the executor office of Jane Doe's estate. And that is how you want to express yourself. If asked who appointed you executor, just hand them the birth certificate. I think we said that already.
So your LLC or your birth paper is similar to your passport. It's just that if you wanted to make it more powerful, you put a picture on it. So the property have a full description of the owner with the name. And your passport is a driver's license. Huh?
It's actually the seal that they look at, because once that seal says that it was done by probate.
Yeah.
So if that's why they're saying to hand them the copy of the birth certificate, because that seal says that you went to probate court and this is your estate.
Okay. Okay. Point well taken. Point well taken. I have one more June 19th thing that we're going. It's over 1 o'clock right now. Most of our brothers and sisters are not in the class, but I do hope they go to reference and watch the class because it's important. Is there any questions at this time? Brother Kareem, Brother Angel, Sister Angela, and Brother Jackson. You're the only one that's here today.
So for anyone that...
Go ahead.
For anyone that's needing this, it's in the classroom chat on WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get to go over the last 2 pages, which is just a little bit more information. You know.
You want to do that? You want to finish it off?
No, that's okay. We can read it on our own.
Yes, I'm going to. It's in the classroom. I'm going to put a note on it so we can pay some attention to it. I'm going to go to this function now and try to make my presence felt because I want them to come at our function also on the 17th. So that's why I'm actually running. The Sheik has gone ahead to represent the Moorish temple. So I have to go over there to represent Nyankopong. Brothers and sisters, if you make it to the meeting tomorrow, we will be there and we resume back on Monday. Thank you so much, Madam Secretary, and everyone that's attend. Brother Earl, thank you so much for your transaction this morning. I'll call you after I finish, and then we make some more preparation because I have some things I want to show you as far as our crystal department goes. Sister Angela, I'll talk to you on Monday, tomorrow at the meeting. And Brother Akeem, we shall be.
We
We
shall
shall
be.
be.
We shall have it.
Be. Thank you so much,
Halabi.
brothers and sisters. Yes.
We shall be, sister.
When